In this question, we're going to use the periodic table to determine the group number and period number of magnesium, which has a symbol Mg. Okay, and it says down here, use the modern group numbering system from 1 to 18. Okay, so let's go and have a look at our periodic table on the reference sheet. So along the top, you can see these numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. all the way up to 18. Those are our group numbers. And where it mentioned before the modern numbering system, this is the modern number system shown with 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. In brackets underneath, you can see 1A, 2A, and then it skips out 3 to 12, and then it says 3A, 4A, 5A, etc. That's the older numbering system or an alternative numbering system that you could use. On this website, we're always going to use the modern numbering system, as shown on this periodic table. Down the side here, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., all the way down to 7, those are our group numbers. So in this question, we're going to be finding an element and then figuring out which group number and which period number does it belong to. So this question was about magnesium. So here's magnesium. So this question is about magnesium. Here's magnesium. So all we need to do is have a look and see what group and period it's in. So along the top, we can see it's number 2. That's our group, group 2. And along the side, it's number 3. That's period 3. So magnesium is going to be group 2 and period 3. So let's go and check that. So our group was group 2 and our period is period 3. In this question, again, we're using the periodic table to determine the group number and period number, this time of oxygen, which has a symbol O. So again, let's have a look at our periodic table on the reference sheet. So first we need to find oxygen, which is over here. And now we just need to figure out which group and which period is it in. So here we can see it's group 16. And then for the period, it's in period 2. So oxygen is group 16, period 2. Notice again, we're using the modern numbering system. So instead of this being group 6A or group 6, we're calling it group 16 on this website. So let's go and fill that out. We had group 16, period 2. This question asks us to use the periodic table to determine the family of the following element, chlorine, which has a symbol Cl. So let's go look at our periodic table in the reference sheet. So let's find chlorine first. Chlorine is over here. And we're trying to figure out what family it's in. So this periodic table is color-coded with families, but you could also just memorize where each of these are. So chlorine is that blue color. It's not the darkest one, it's the second darkest one. So if we look down at our key at the bottom here, here's our blues. Those show our non-metals. And that second darkest blue is called the halogens. So all those that are in that color, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine, those are all halogens. So the family for chlorine, which we can fill in our answer, is going to be halogen. This question asks us to use the periodic table to determine the metallic character of the following element, phosphorus, which has a symbol P. So again, let's go look at our periodic table in the reference sheet. First, let's find phosphorus, which is over here. And the question is, what is its metallic character? So again, the periodic table is color-coded here. If you look at the bottom, you can see metals are all in those greeny colours and the yellowy orange colours. Then we have metalloids, which are in that bluey greeny colour. And then finally, non-metals are all the bluey colours. So phosphorus is that light blue colour. It's one of these non-metals, which is in the non-metals group. So phosphorus is a non-metal. Fill that in here. This question asks us to use the periodic table to determine the atomic number of aluminium, which has a symbol Al. So let's head to our periodic table reference sheet. And first step is just to find aluminium, Al. So it's over here. There's aluminium. And the question's asking us to find the atomic number. So let's just take a look in the middle for a second at this key, which shows us what each of these squares tells us. So in the middle, that's our element symbol. We know that already. Just under that, we have the element name. We've practiced finding that too. The top left number, that's our atomic number. And that tells us how many protons are in this element. The last thing on there is down at the bottom here, the relative atomic mass, which we'll get into a bit later. So to find the atomic number, we're looking for that number in the top left of the square. So aluminium has an atomic number of 13. So we can go try that out in our answer box here. In this question, we're asked to determine the number of subatomic particles in the neutral argon atom that's shown. So subatomic particles, those are our protons, neutrons, and electrons. And we have our neutral argon atom shown here. So let's draw out that a little bit bigger while we figure out the answer to this question. So we have the symbol for argon, Ar, and then we have one number on the top and another number on the bottom. So this number on the bottom here, that is the atomic number. And that tells us how many protons we have. The number of protons. So since we have the number 18 on the bottom there, we know we must have 18 protons in this atom. So let's fill that in first. 18 protons. Yeah, okay. The number on the top here, this one, this is the mass number. And the mass number is the number of protons and the number of neutrons added together. And since protons and neutrons are the subatomic particles that are in the nucleus, which is here on the diagram, and they're the only subatomic particles that have mass, together they add up to make the mass number. So in this question, we know we have 18 protons, and we know that we have 38 protons and neutrons together. So we can do a little calculation. We know the total is 38, and that's 18 protons plus a certain number of neutrons. So to find our neutrons, we're going to subtract 18 from 38. So the number of neutrons is 38 minus 18, which is 20. So let's test that out. Awesome. So we've got 18 protons and 20 neutrons, and we figured that all out from this nucleus symbol that we provided. The last thing is the electrons. Now it tells us in the question it's a neutral argon atom. Neutral means it's not positively charged, it's not negatively charged, it just has zero charge. So since we have 18 protons which are positively charged, if we want it overall to be neutral and have zero charge, those 18 positively charged protons all need to be balanced out with 18 negatively charged electrons. So this is going to be the same number of electrons as there were protons. In this question, we're asked to determine the nuclear symbol and number of subatomic particles for a neutral oxygen-17 atom. So when our atom is written like this, with the name, oxygen, and then a number, 17, the number provided there is the mass number of our atom. So that's something we can fill in already on our nuclear symbol. The number at the top of that is our mass number, which is 17 in this question. Okay. What other information are we given? We're told that it's oxygen. So we can fill in our nuclear symbol. The symbol for oxygen is O. And then to figure out the atomic number, we're going to have to look at our periodic table and find oxygen. So let's have a look for oxygen. Here it is. So oxygen has an atomic number in the top left of 8. Remember, it's that number in the top left that's the atomic number, not the one below. That's the relative atomic mass, which we'll get into later. So it's just the number in the top left we need for now. That's the atomic number. So we can fill that in here. Our atomic number is 8. That's the one on the bottom in our nuclear symbol. Finally, we just need to figure out our subatomic particles. So we know that the number of protons is going to be equal to our atomic number, which is that number on the bottom of our nuclear symbol. So we've got 8 protons. So we can fill that in here. And we know we've got 8 protons because it's oxygen, and oxygen has atomic number 8. So oxygen always has 8 protons. Next, looking at the neutrons, the mass number, which is that number on the top of our nuclear symbol, tells us the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. And the mass number in this question is 17. And the number of protons is 8. So to get our neutrons, we can do 17 minus 8. And that will get us 9 as our number of protons. So we can enter that. Oh, sorry, I meant to say number of neutrons then. 9 is our number of neutrons. Okay, great. So we've got 8 protons, 9 neutrons. Finally, the electrons. Since it's a neutral atom, we know the protons and electrons have to be the same so that they can balance out each other's charge. So it's going to be 8 as well for the electrons.